Have you ever heard something similar? Women crave touch, while many men tend to focus exclusively on achieving a goal. It's common for them to mistakenly believe that directly stimulating certain areas will automatically make them feel pleasure. But the truth is, this is far from the truth. A woman's brain finds much more enjoyment and emotional balance when there is a psychological connection and gentle touch, rather than a simple physical interaction. Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you really know where a woman wants to be touched? Most men wouldn't know for sure. And do you know why? Because rarely has anyone explained it clearly to them. And although many women feel it intensely, they don't always communicate it with words. Still, their bodies speak. And the signals they send out are unmistakable. In today's video, we won't skim the surface. I'm going to talk to you with complete honesty and detail about the differences in the way men and women perceive touch, and about 7 specific areas of the female body that women notice, even if they don't say so, according to research in psychology, physiology, and neuroscience. When you know these 7 keys, you'll notice a completely different reaction. Because even through good hand-holding, many women can feel deeply touched, and their bodies begin to respond naturally. Now I want to tell you in detail about those 7 special spots that many women don't usually verbalize, but that they deeply desire to be touched with care and tenderness. If you don't pay attention to them, you may never truly discover them. I ask you to pay close attention because this could mark a turning point in your relationship. And before we begin, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. Before I begin this story, I want to clarify something important. I am a psychologist specializing in sexuality, with more than 2 decades of experience studying human relationships and sensory perception in intimacy. Over these years, I have personally supported thousands of couples. And throughout this journey, I have proven one truth with absolute certainty. Most men give themselves out of instinctive desire, while most women only open up physically when there is a genuine emotional connection. Many men are convinced they're doing the right thing, but from a woman's perspective, in many cases, that contact is nothing more than a one-sided physical approach. Why doesn't she react when I touch her? Why doesn't she respond the way she used to? The explanation is simpler than it seems. What many men consider normal or enough actually fails to make an impact on them. Women don't usually respond to physical stimulation alone. What truly ignites their desire is something much deeper. Does this person truly understand me? Does she genuinely care about what I feel, both physically and emotionally? When a woman senses that sincere connection, her response is complete, authentic, and visceral. The challenge is that, most of the time, they don't express it verbally. Do you think that if they want it, they'll say it straight? Not necessarily. Instead of using words, they often communicate their desires through body language, a subtle glance, or small gestures loaded with meaning. I clearly remember what a patient shared with me during a session. Don't just try to touch that area. First, I need you to help me relax, to surrender. I want to feel your sincerity in the small details. That phrase sums up the deep feelings of many women. It's important for you to know that they have specific desire points, and that these places aren't simply areas sensitive to touch, but rather emotional gateways that allow them to open up psychologically. Therefore, the 7 places I'm going to share with you today aren't just about body parts. They are keys that can open their hearts, and a form of communication that makes them feel truly seen, valued, and respected. When you truly understand these 7 points and approach them with respect, care, and sensitivity, the way they react can be completely transformed. Today I want to reveal to you the 7 places where women truly desire to be touched, but which are rarely explained clearly. If she moves away from your touch without saying anything, it's not necessarily because she doesn't like you. Often, what she senses is that you don't know exactly how or where to touch her. On the contrary, if she leans into you, if she gives you her body without words, it's because she senses that you're connected to something deeper, that you know and respect those 7 essential points. 1. the nape of the neck right at the base of the hairline. This point acts like a switch that releases tension, although many women aren't fully aware of it. When you caress that area with your fingertips, without saying a single word, her body begins to relax naturally, generating a feeling of tranquility and emotional connection. In this gesture, what truly matters is the intention. It's not a matter of hasty desire, but of genuine interest. 2. The soft area between the shoulder blades. This is where muscles are located that function as an emotional protection barrier. By gently placing your hand on this area, she may feel a deep sense of protection. It's as if, without speaking, you're conveying to her that she's in a safe space. It's a region where the mind often lets go before the body. Many men are unaware that this type of subtle touch is something many women silently desire. 3. The third finger, the back and center of the palm. You may not expect it, but a woman's hands are a direct extension of her emotional world. When a man gently caresses her hands without words, he's reaching directly into her core. Beyond the simple gesture of holding hands, paying attention to the knuckles or the center of the palm conveys a very deep emotional charge. These areas are full of nerve endings associated with stress, and by touching them sensitively, you are sending a clear message of care, calm, and presence. 4. A small indentation behind the ear, just below the jaw. It's a highly receptive spot that only allows itself to be touched when there's true trust built. By brushing that area with your fingertips, not your tongue, allowing the natural warmth of your body to permeate, she will feel that you are being respectful of her most intimate and delicate areas. And it is at that moment that many of her emotional defenses begin, without her realizing it, to lower. 5. The inner thigh near the deep muscles. This is an area that must be approached with great tact, without directly invading the most intimate areas. When a woman interprets this approach not as a direct provocation, but as a subtle and considerate gesture, an intense mix of expectation and desire is activated in her. The most important thing here isn't speed, but the pace at which you move. Whether or not she's willing to surrender often depends on how that shared emotional rhythm is built. 6. The hollow between the waist and pelvis, in the lumbar region. This point represents the axis of the body and also the center of its emotional balance. Encircling her waist from behind isn't simply a physical gesture. It's a silent way of conveying security, care, and belonging. When her back rests against your chest, a deep emotional impulse is generated. It's as if her body is receiving a clear message. I'm here to support you. 7. The lower abdomen, in the area surrounding the navel. This is a place where both instinct and emotion converge strongly within a woman's body. However, many men tend to ignore it or hastily overlook it. Approaching calmly, gently placing your entire palm on her, sends a clear message. I am present, with respect and genuine connection. When a woman allows you to touch this spot, it's a profound sign. She has decided to open not only her body to you, but also her emotional world. A woman can feel deeply loved when a man approaches her with gentleness, understanding, and profound respect for these 7 key places. And that kind of connection goes far beyond simple physical pleasure. It awakens an inner certainty. The desire to trust and surrender fully to that person. Women don't only react to the act of being touched, but to the place, the reason, and the manner in which that touch occurs. And now that knowledge is in your hands. You may be wondering, why are these 7 points so relevant? Can women really respond with such sensitivity? And the answer is an absolute yes. A woman's body doesn't react solely to direct physical stimulation. Her pleasure system follows a process in 3 essential phases. First, subtle bodily stimulation. Then, genuine emotional recognition. And finally, a brain response that integrates all of the above. Understanding this sequence can not only change the way you experience intimacy, can profoundly transform the type of bond you build with a woman. In other words, what truly matters is whether a single touch can spark a real emotional connection. A group of sexual neuroscience experts at the University of Maryland in the United States discovered that the nerve endings in women's skin are, on average, up to 10 times more sensitive than those of men. Areas such as the nape of the neck, the area behind the ears, the fingers, and the lower abdomen are especially receptive, and their stimulation promotes the release of oxytocin. This substance, also known as the trust hormone, is not limited to sexual desire. It awakens the need to feel emotionally supported and strengthens a sense of deep connection with the other person. In other words, these 7 points we mentioned are not simply zones of physical pleasure. For the female mind, they represent signals of trust. They function as emotional receptors that communicate. With this person, I feel safe. I can open both my body and my inner world to them. Furthermore, what truly provokes an emotional reaction in most women is not intensity, but unexpected gentleness and a calm rhythm. Although many men think that the stronger the stimulus, the greater the effect, in reality, what women enjoy most are delicate gestures and subtle attention to detail. Research on sexual behavior conducted at Stanford University revealed that women tend to become more emotionally involved when physical contact is unexpected or unpredictable. In particular, deliberate touching in unusual areas, such as behind the ear or just below the abdomen, generated noticeable changes in both her heart rate and brain activity. Ultimately, the key to reaching a woman's heart lies not in strength, but in rhythm. Not in a precise technique, but in the emotional connection you manage to create. Instead of focusing on convincing her, what's truly transformative is first reaching her inner self with a gesture that conveys calm. Her emotions, literally, are within your grasp. The real obstacle isn't usually the technique, but the intention with which you approach her and the way you do it. Women don't shy away from men who understand this. On the contrary, they feel a genuine attraction, and from there a much deeper bond can emerge. Jong Myung-soo, a 67-year-old man, also faced these kinds of concerns. After retiring, he said he had more time, but oddly enough, he spoke to his wife less and less. Even when they were together, he felt as if an invisible barrier had been erected between them. One day, while she was washing the dishes, Myung-soo silently looked at her from behind and, without saying anything, gently stroked the back of her neck, as if giving her a silent hug. It wasn't something he had planned. It simply emerged as a warm and genuine gesture. But what was surprising was that his wife immediately stopped, turned her head slowly, and looked at him for a long time, without saying a single word. In that instant, Myung-soo realized that, for a long time, their relationship had been marked by formality and emotional distance. From that day on, he began to touch his wife's shoulders more often, hold her hand more frequently, and engage in closer conversations. 6 months passed, and once, she was the one who made the first move. She tenderly took his hand and said, "Lately, your hands feel so warm. And now I want to share another true story with you." Mrs. Yoon Jong-hai, 74, shared that her marital bond had been strained for a long time. It wasn't that she rejected physical contact, but it did make her feel somewhat uncomfortable. However, something began to change the day her husband began gently stroking her behind her ears. According to her, this gentle gesture gradually dissolved her tension and brought her a sense of emotional relief she had never felt before. She felt deeply grateful to realize that her husband still loved her so sensitively. And since then, she felt at peace again within his embrace. Going through maturity and entering old age doesn't mean that the body stops feeling love, but rather that the way we love transforms. We no longer speak of the intense passion of years past. Today, true love manifests itself in gentle gestures, mutual respect, and those warm hands that caress with conscious intention. Sometimes, a minimal caress with the fingertips is enough to awaken previously silent emotions and restore to the heart a tenderness that seemed to have disappeared.